Hello, everybody, and welcome to the second episode of our Wiggles Enthusiast podcast. Testing 1, 2, 3.
Hi, I'm Sam.
I'm Jake.
And
I'm Dom.
I am Tyler. Oh, yeah, that's Dom, but yeah. And I'm Tyler from Wiggles Enthusiast. And of course, we are all Wiggles enthusiasts. And our guest today needs absolutely no introduction. If you've ever heard a Wiggles song, then this man's probably been in your ears before, whether it was on trumpet or piano or anything amazing like that. Everybody, Dom Lindsay is here with us today. Hello, Dom. How are you today?
Great, Tyler, Samuel, Jake. Thank you so much for having me. Great, really good.
Of course. So just jumping right into things, where does music start for you in your life? And what are some of the earliest memories of music that you have?
Where did music start? Well, my parents are both musical people. Dad was a professional pianist, and Mum and Dad both met in a musical society in the town of Orange in New South Wales in Australia. And so music stemmed from them and their love for it. And my whole family, my sisters, my three sisters are all professional musicians as well. They're all string players, and you've heard them on Wiggles recordings too before. So yeah, it filtered down through them, and my earliest memories are probably having piano lessons. Just visiting with Mum yesterday, she was reminding me about the piano lessons that she gave me, and Dad was always working hard, so they both played piano. So so it really comes from them. And earliest memories is Dad, the family sitting around the piano and Mum and Dad singing songs and old show tunes and jazz. And Dad was a fantastic jazz pianist, really quite unbelievable stride piano player. And and Dad had a great love for the orchestra, and he always wanted to be an orchestral player, and he wanted to play the French horn. So he eventually got that French horn. We bought him a French horn for Father's Day. He was already probably in his 40s by then, but piano was his thing, and he was a brass man too. Played trombone and some trumpet and the Scottish pipes and drums band. He was a tenor drum player. So, but his great love was for the orchestra, and he really, I think he was excited about the prospect of his kids, the four of us, and one day being orchestral musicians. So they just gave us a great education, made that available to us through great teachers and so on. And we just all took to it. We just loved it because we grew up with it. We all went off to study music, and we've done it. We've been playing since we can remember. So we all played piano and branched off into our respective instruments.
So I guess maybe kind of along with that, we were also wondering, what are some of your greatest influences and inspirations in the musical world?
Well, I'm glad you asked that, Samuel, because that was probably stemming from that last question that Tyler asked, is that the influences, the things that Dad loved and played and allowed us to hear, through recordings, LP recordings, records and so on. Dad played every weekend. He was playing with one band he played with was a big band, and they would play at venues where we were able to hear them sometimes. They might have been a public gig. So, as a trumpet player, he introduced me to Herb Albert. So, and his band would play all kinds of things, and he would take me into the Conservatorium of Music and listen to the Daley Wilson Big Band, which is one of the most legendary big bands in Australia ever to exist. And we used to go and sit in the Joseph Post Auditorium in the Conservatorium and listen to rehearsals because we both just loved it. But Dad loved the orchestra probably more than anything he did. He didn't play in an orchestra, but that was his dream. So he loved Mahler, he loved Bernstein. So I think the first record I can ever remember Dad handing to me and saying, here, Dom, listen to this, was West Side Story by Leonard Bernstein, the Symphonic Dances. And I think it was conducted by Leonard Bernstein as well. It was written by Leonard Bernstein. But Dad also loved the great romantic composers like Gustav Mahler. And as a trumpet player, I got to one day I eventually became that orchestral player and got to play in orchestras like the Australian Youth Orchestra and Sydney Symphony Orchestra, and playing Mahler, which I loved as much as Dad. We would just sit together and talk about it for hours. So my influences really stemmed from some jazz and Herb Albert and great orchestral pieces. Yeah. And other things I could, you could probably dig, but they're my strongest influences, I think. Yeah.
That's great. And so I guess moving on in your life, what were some of the first jobs and gigs with a focus on music that you got?
Some of the earliest gigs, Jake?
Yeah.
Well, when when I was at school, I started playing the trumpet when I was in grade 7, year 7, as we call here in school. So I think it was 11, and before, let's turn this phone off. Before, Wiggles feed popping up. So it was probably playing in what do you call them? Musical theatre, sort of amateur musical theatre organisations. Yeah, so where they were putting on like Gilbert Sullivan musicals, and this was my first professional work. So I was doing all kinds of things, playing for the church and school, and brass bands. I had a really strong. I actually started playing the cornet in a brass band, and so that's where I had quite a strong brass band tradition, which is great for your technique. If you want to have good technique, and as a trumpet player or brass player, you play in a brass band. So I was really lucky to have that too. And Dad was a brass band man as well, so he strongly encouraged that. So the first gigs were, playing in brass bands and performances like that. Playing with Waverley Brass Band, and which is now the Bondi Beach Brass Band. And the first professional gigs were orchestral work, and chamber music, and brass gigs, all kinds of things. But musical theatre, playing for Rockdale Musical Society and all that. Well, hop on a train at 5 o'clock in the afternoon to arrive somewhere at 7 o'clock for an opera, for like a musical theatre performance when I was in my mid-teens, 16.
Guess that circles back to me. Here's a fun question. What are all of the instruments that you play?
Well, I started with piano. So I started on piano when I was 4. So, and I played piano right up until, I got to about year 6 at school, and I did want to stop having lessons. I think it wasn't so much the piano playing, but I just wanted to stop having the lessons. And I did want to play, I was playing the trombone up to the end of, I didn't play for very long, but Dad was a trombonist too. So I played that for about 6 months, and then, got to the end of year 6 going into high school, and I knew they had a brass band, and I wanted to play the trumpet. I remember the day and the moment that I wanted to play the trumpet, but Dad had a lot to do with that too. Trumpet is my main instrument, but I do play piano, and as you know, play a lot of piano and keyboard on Wiggles recordings and so on. So I call myself a functional piano player. I have a use, there's plenty of people that are much better than me, but it's definitely something I've done kind of all my life and have never let that skill go. So it's great for arranging too, to be able to sit down and work out the arrangements, where they're going to go, where the string lines are going to go, by being able to play the piano to an extent. So I call myself a trumpet / piano player, but really piano is my forte. But my big obsession is the Irish button accordion. Actually, that's it, just there. That one there, you can see on the shelf back there. That's beautiful. A newbie, that one. Yeah, I've had that for a couple of months now, and I've my first trip to the US, went to New Orleans, and I went there to listen to. I can't remember the exact reason I was actually in New Orleans, but actually I think it had something to do with. And it was my very first trip to the States in '89. And it was just one of the things I wanted to do, to go and hear some jazz, go and hear some trad, Dixieland jazz and whatever, and was amazed walking into these bars and hearing this Cajun music, which I'd never heard of before. I mean, I might have heard of it, but I didn't really know what it was. And I was just obsessed by these guys playing. I remember them as accordions, but there was something different about them. They had these buttons, and they had these what turned out to be stoppers, and like you find on an organ. And I was just really mesmerized by the sound, that reedy sound. I've always liked the sound of reeds like oboe, more so than like clarinets and saxophones, but oboe, like really reedy sounds, and so very different to the trumpet. But I was just totally drawn to it, and just the technique and the way it worked with that style. So I just came back with this, embedded in my mind that I just love the accordion. I didn't actually end up buying a piano accordion for some years later, but I went from piano accordion and started getting into Anthony Field and I. We a project we did together called Haste for the Wedding, where it was an Irish-Australian musical, like a musical production of dancing and music and song. And even then, I remember I was using this little like Casio keyboard with accordion sound, just frustrated that I didn't have an accordion, hadn't bought one, hadn't played one, but was trying to get these sounds that I heard in New Orleans. And then one day I bought one, piano accordion. And there's another one just back there. You can see the one next to it. That one there. Yeah. That one needs a bit of a tune, but that's Steve Blau's accordion. I think I told Tyler about one.
Wow.
That's piano accordion there.
That's
is
beautiful.
Steve Blau's, yeah. So that's the man himself, the legend.
We are all big fans of Steve Blau here.
I know that, guys.
Greatly missed.
Yeah, that's why I thought I brought it up. But that's that was his. I mean, I still call it his instrument. It's beautiful. That was my second accordion. The first one I bought in a country town in Orange, and then I acquired that one day. So. But the one I'm really obsessed by, the sound and the technique, is the Irish button accordion. So when you say, what do I play? I'm working really, sometimes I spend 3 hours a day practicing that. So, and Anthony's driving me really hard with his Scottish tunes. So we do jam sessions together, and he's always way ahead because he's got that tradition of, Scottish piping. And so I'm feverishly trying to learn. I'm halfway through learning one tune, and then he sends me through more. It's great fun. Yeah.
Cool. So maybe going back to the brass for a second. So you played quite a few different brass instruments on Wiggles, like flugelhorn, trumpet, piccolo trumpet. So we're wondering, do you have any of those trumpets? Maybe do you still have the first trumpet you ever got, or?
The very first trumpet I ever had, I don't. I love your questions, guys. The very first trumpet I don't have. It was it'd be sentimental to still have it, but it wasn't a great trumpet. It was, but the second one I ever got, I still have, and it's pretty much done all of it's right here, Wiggles recordings. This is my Bach Stradivarius B flat.
There she is.
That one has played pretty much either that or the piccolo trumpet. I haven't used any other horn. This is pretty much played all of those tunes that you've heard on a B flat trumpet has been played on this horn. And
you're essentially holding the sound of our childhood right now, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
I really love that, and I love that you guys say that, and I actually feel the same, because it's really special to me that I would never get rid of this. It's a really good horn too. I bought one exactly the same about 7 or 8 years ago. I just thought I needed a new one. I mean, it is getting pretty old. I got this in about 1980 or 78 or something like that. So I had it a long time. But it's a really good horn. I bought exactly the same one, but a new version of the Bach Stradivarius model. And within about 2 years, I sold it just because I just preferred this. So this just feels like home, But that's the horn.
Of course.
That was awesome.
Stand up because it's got the bell's been squashed a few times. It's a bit wobbly. It's been well used. Yeah. So that's the yeah, that's the first trumpet. But as far as brass goes, we just the flugelhorn. The flugelhorn that I bought that the flugelhorn that you may have heard on recordings is one I bought when we did the Dorothy the Dinosaur show with the Wiggly Orchestra, and that's that gold. I don't know if you've seen that. If you've seen that video, but I just thought I needed a good flugelhorn, and I bought it because it kind of matched the color scheme that we were using for the Rosie Orchestra, which was gold and red, and it had that sort of what do you call it? Not like a dull gold, and I still use that. But just the other day, we started to use. There's a couple of songs coming out. I used the French horn, and it's just sitting over there. Oh, there it is. There.
Wow.
So that's the French horn that we put down on a few songs, and tomorrow back in the studio, and got plans to put some more on there with the French horn. It just works really nicely in contrast to the trumpet. Yeah. So
forward to hearing that.
Yeah. And also a little bit of euphonium. Oh, there it is over that shoulder, the other shoulder. This one, that's my dad's euphonium. I've used that from time to time. Used that in Rewiggled. She's a Rainbow. Is that what it's called? She's a Rainbow. Yeah.
One of my favorite tracks.
You know that oompa thing. Yeah.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
So this question is, how did working with the Wiggles come about, and did you hear the Wiggles music before you started working with them, or were you approached by Anthony or someone?
There's a bit of a funny story to this. Another great question, guys. Thanks, Jake. So I perhaps had heard of the Wiggles at the time I came close, almost met them. So John Field. I didn't know the Fields at this point. I didn't know John or Anthony. I didn't know Paul. I didn't know any of them. But I did know John's wife, Jackie. At the time, they weren't married. So, but I did know Jackie, and I was playing trumpet at Jackie's wedding. And so I turned up my trumpet at Joey's, where the boys went to school, and Hunters Hill there in Sydney, and saw all the Fallon family, which is Jackie's family, Jackie Fallon. And I saw all these guys, and saw this guy who looked like he had a lot of charisma. That was Anthony, and John. They were all sort of bouncing around the front. It was I knew it was going to be a fun wedding. This was in the church. This was ready for the ceremony, and my wife Lynn. I think we had 2 kids at the time. The 2 oldest, Kiara and Ash, and Lynn was sitting in the pew. I think she was in front or behind the Wiggles, because they were there. And she didn't know who they were either. I don't think she knew. And she heard one of them made a comment about, and so I'm up the front playing the trumpet for the ceremony, and she heard one of them make a comment about, oh, trumpet, we should have a trumpet or something like that, A couple of weeks later, I got a phone call from Pauline Field, so Paul's wife, to come and do a gig for Red Nose Day. On the midday show with Ray Martin, which is, it's not on, this show's not on anymore, but it's a big deal. This show was on every day. It's like a midday show, and it was a charity gig. But I took the day off work, and this would be great. This is with the Cockroaches, and Anthony and Jeff weren't there because they were traveling. I'm pretty sure they weren't there. Yeah, they were traveling, touring, and they just wanted to, they needed numbers because 2 of the guys were missing. So I'm not saying I replaced Anthony and Jeff that day, but they weren't there, and they got me and another guy in sax. And so the first gig I ever did wasn't with the Wiggles; it was with the Cockroaches, and that's how I met them. And then I did more and more gigs with the Cockroaches, and that's when I met Anthony, because Anthony would, even though he wasn't not on the gig, and that's why I was there, he still sometimes turned up and sometimes still did these shows. And one day we came, and this is how leading up to how I, met them and saw what they did. Still didn't really know much about the Wiggles. I probably heard them talk about it, but I hadn't seen it. This was like 1996 or something, I think. And we came back from a tour down the south coast, and we were in Tarago, the the van, you know, with the people mover. And we got to the meeting point on the Hume Highway out west, and where we leave all our cars when we come back from a road trip. And it wasn't far from where we were living. And Anthony said, "Hey, Dom, do you want to come up and see the show?" And I said, "Yeah, maybe." This is a Wiggle inviting me to go to this show. And I said, "Okay, all right, I'll come up." And so there's the stage in the Westfield Shopping Centre, and the Wiggles are on stage, and they're jumping around doing their thing. And I'm standing there, and I got two young kids, but, you know, who'd never been to a show like this before. And I remember looking at it, just this is interesting. Anyway, Anthony comes off stage, and he says, you know, bouncing around, "Hey, Dom, so what did you think of that?" And I said, "Oh, mate," I said, "that's the most annoying thing I've ever seen." So that was my feedback to Anthony Wiggle. That's the most annoying thing I've ever seen. And he looked at me like, "Oh, okay." Amazing we're still friends. Yeah. No, so it was good. It's great. Yeah, it's nuts. I haven't seen anything like that before. So I'm amazed I ever got a gig out after a comment like that. But it was great fun. So that's how I met them. I mean, that's how I came into. And next thing, I was in the studio playing trumpet on recordings.
And speaking of that, do you remember the first Wiggle song you ever recorded? And what was the writing and recording process like on your first album together, which would have been Wake Up Jeff in 1996?
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you knew that, because I thought it was Wake Up Jeff, but I thought I was going to check with you. But that's a fact,
worry.
is it?
This is where we all start getting nerdy.
So, yeah. No, that's great. No, it's great. Okay, so it was Wake Up Jeff. Yeah, it would have been. It would have no doubt been a song for Wake Up Jeff, and then the video. I remember being in the studio near the train station, Central in Sydney. Tracking station. I think it was called tracking station or tracking station. Yeah. And all the guys were there: Anthony, Jeff, Murray, Greg. And I don't remember the song. I wish I remembered. I don't remember the song.
All right.
But if I knew the song list, even if I had the song list in front of me, I don't think I could tell you which one it was. I do remember recording Baby Beluga, which is not written by the Wiggles,
Beautiful
but
song.
I don't think that was for Wake Up Jeff. I think we used that for something else. But I do remember that. And I remember
it was on the Wake Up Jeff album, but it didn't get a clip. It was just an album song.
Oh, well, I do remember that, but it wasn't the first. I don't think it was the first one. What are the other songs on Wake Up Jeff? That might have been.
Henry's Underwater Big Band. We Like to Say Hello.
Yeah, I remember recording them, but I just can't remember which is the first one. Yeah.
So you also made your video debut not long after that album, actually on the Wake Up Jeff video, and you played the trumpet for Bucket of Dew with your daughter Ashley. So do you remember what that was like, that experience?
Oh yeah. I definitely remember more about the TV, the filming of those than being in the recording studio. I remember the recording studio, but I definitely remember those. Yeah, Bucket of Dew, recording that, holding Ashley, and then it was meant to be my older daughter Kiara, but then she, for some reason, I don't think she was a bit shy of the camera, so grabbed Ash. Ash is more, she's a musical theatre girl today, so Ash was into it. So I do remember that, and I do remember little photo shoots and the one with the family with my wife Lynn and Kiara and Ashley, the four of us together, waving at the camera. I remember all that. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Another important, element of late '90s to early 2000s Wiggle songs were Angela Lindsay and Margaret Lindsay on strings, and a good example of that is Henry's Underwater Big Band. So, what was it like working on Wiggles albums with them?
With my sisters?
Yeah.
Yeah. Maria would have been there too. I don't know how Maria would have always been there. Maria's the violinist, Angela's the viola player, and Margaret's the cellist. Yeah. So, and it was great. I mean, in the early days, they were arrangements to an extent, but they're great musicians. They're fabulous orchestral musicians. And, we weren't, Anthony would say, we need some strings today. And the girls would get a call up and they would come in, and there was no time to write anything down. I would literally sing lines and say, well, if you could play this line, and, we could just sort of paint the picture very quickly and they would play it. Later down the track, we had more time for, written arrangements and writing things out. But it's wonderful working with them because they'd already played together, all their lives, and blended and played as a trio. So they were very quick to blend, and, intonation, pitch, and all that sort of thing were just bang on perfect. So they would literally, throw down lines in one take, and so it's fantastic working with them. Really great. I think Anthony and I were talking the other day. He was sending me some recordings of which one was it? What's that album?
In the Wiggles world, it's a Wiggly World.
That album. What is it called?
Yeah, it's a Wiggly World.
Yeah, Wiggly World. Okay, thanks, Tyler. Yeah, that album. Yeah. So yeah, Anthony, he said, he sent it to me the other day. He said, remember this? He said, this is one of the best albums we ever did. And what his comment was, it's just covered in strings. So we're bringing back some strings. We've got some strings returning.
Love to hear that.
Yeah.
Fun fact, that's my favorite Wiggles album.
Oh, yeah.
For that reason.
And I had to listen to it, a few times. And yeah, it's definitely a great album. It's got some great sounds, really recorded so beautifully, yeah.
Well, one song we'd like to mention, fast forward a little bit to Wiggly Christmas later in 1996, is the version of Silent Night on that, which had this perfect arrangement of trumpet, strings, and electric guitar. And pretty much myself, Sam, and Jake, we all agree that is just the best ever arrangement of Silent Night. And do you remember what went into putting that version together? Because we're all huge fans of that version of the track.
Wow. No, I don't remember it. I mean, I will as soon as I hear it. Maybe this is where I should have asked you if you for a song list that you.
Oh, that's
sometimes
okay.
things are they're blend. There's so many songs. There's literally hundreds, but I remember being beautiful. And what album was that on? Wiggly Christmas.
Wiggly Christmas. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I it is beautiful, but I can't remember exactly. I mean, I know Silent Night, of course. But I can't remember the specific. I'll have to have a listen to now.
It's so good.
Now that you mentioned
so
it.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it had this one part in the song. It was pretty much all Terry Murray, and it was just beautiful.
Terry Murray. Oh yeah, what a talent. Yeah, just amazing. Yeah, he was astonishing. Yeah.
Cool. All right, so moving on to a couple of the next two albums. The next two were the Wiggles movie soundtrack and Toot Toot. And the Wiggles sound seemed to be, growing, getting bigger. The arrangements were maybe a bit more expansive. And also, I believe the first time you wrote some songs for them, you wrote Officer People's Dance and Let's Have a Kaylee. So I guess along with that, do you have a favorite? I mean, you kind of talked about it before with Wiggly World, but do you have a favorite album that you worked on or that you wrote for?
It's funny that Officer People's Let's Have a Kaylee. Yeah, that song. I don't know if you guys would know this. You guys know so much stuff, but I don't know if you know this. So, probably not. So. So that's Let's Have a Kaylee, right? So Anthony, the Wiggles were down in Melbourne, and they had something down there, like they're down there at the moment. But so they just had to go, but they had to have a song for Officer Beeples put in place like very quickly. And Anthony called me and he said, can you come into the studio, wherever that was? I can't remember where that was. And he said, could you do an arrangement of us? And I wonder if you guys can actually work out the song if you don't know what it is. But that song was actually supposed to be based on a Wiggles song. And so what I did is I took the song that Anthony said, so here's the song. This is the song. And you guys will know the song. And he said, but can you rework it and make it into a dance, just a dance number? There won't be any singing on it. But it'll just be an instrumental for the dancers to dance to. And I said, great. So I took the song and I did what I did when someone says, can you basically turn it into an instrumental? I just, added a few extra notes just to make it a little bit different. But my idea wasn't to change the song at all. And Anthony came back and he listened to it. And he said, what? That's not the song I asked you to do. I said, yeah, it is. And then I started to feel terrible because, like when someone asks you to do a project and you feel like you messed it up. And he said, no, it's great. I really like it. I like it. That's Anthony. His ears are on. And, but it's great. And he says, no, I like it. It's not what I was thinking, but no, it's great. It's better. It's great. No. And he said, it's, anyway, he said, to me, it's a completely different song. He said, so I'm going to credit you for give you a songwriting credit. So that was my very first, when you say it was the first song I ever wrote. So the tune is, Captain Feathers, he loves to sing.
Oh, yes.
What's that song? Captain, yeah. So that when you take that tune, he loves to sing. So that tune is just Captain Feathers, that song, but just with a whole lot more notes added to it. And I think Maria played that on violin. I think that's all done on the violin. Yeah. That's the story.
I had never correlated that song to Captain Feathersword before.
Yeah.
That opened my ears to something new.
Yeah, well, it's not called. What is that song called? Captain Feathersword.
Something. Yeah, it's just called Captain Feathersword.
Yeah. So no, it's called Let's Have It a Kaylee, but it is Anthony deemed it a different song. So cool. Oh, yeah. But as far as my favorite albums, and I always love doing the Christmas ones. I absolutely love Go Santa Go, which John Field wrote Go Santa Go, didn't he? Yeah. I love Go Santa Go. I love playing the horn lines on it. And then, recently they released it without any trumpet on. I was like, huh?
I'm glad I wasn't the only one with that reaction. When you're a trumpet player I'm not saying that the horn lines. John wrote it. That's John's song. I love it. I love I love the structure of the song and a typical Wiggly thing where they just go pretty much straight to the chorus. I love that style. So these really good and memorable songs are, it's always, it's easy. I think it's easy sometimes to come up with lines because there's such good songs. And if you've got a great starting place. So when you say favorite albums, I probably find that unless I had it sitting here in front of me, I did really love recording. We had Kamal, we had the Rosie T song. You guys are probably better at this than me. Another cup of. Yeah, then that would have been It's a Wiggly Wiggly World.
Yeah. Oh, Wiggly World. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, I did. That's the one I was listening to the other day. Yeah. That was really fun to record because we had the strings and we also had. So I'm not a guitar guy, so I don't play guitar. So that's always over to Anthony and Murray and John Field, whoever was recording us, and Jeff did all keyboards. The great funky clav sounds and organs and the beautiful grand piano we had. That album was recorded in Neutral Bay at Tiger, which used to be Albert Studio. Beautiful studio. It's a big grand piano. So, and the strings, we had the strings, and also we had, this has to be the right answer. Wiggly Wiggly World. We had some trombone on that album too. Remember, Blow Me Down?
Yeah.
Blow Me Down. You've got Don Bate played trombone. Don Bate's a really good friend of mine. There's not much trombone on Wiggles albums, but I said, I really want you to play trombone on this, and so he flew up from Tasmania. He was the principal trombone player with the Sydney Symphony Orchestra, with the Tasmania Symphony Orchestra, and so he came up, and there's quite a bit of trombone on that. But I remember particularly "Blow Me Down." Those trombone lines.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah,
That's such a good song. That's such a good song.
That is a great song. Also, I think, I don't know if it's that album. We did song Neil Diamond's Porcupine Pie.
Porcupine, yep.
I can't remember which album that's on. That's with trombone.
That's It's a Wiggly Wiggly World.
Is that Wiggly Wiggly
That's
World?
a great song.
A really simple song, but I'm answering your question, like, what did I love? It was arranging those simple lines, brass and strings. Yeah, guitars.
Such a good album. Such a good album. It was very nostalgic to me as a kid, and as I got older, and I became a more seasoned musician myself, there was just so much to appreciate in that album specifically. I mean, of course, the other albums are great as well, but It's a Wiggly Wiggly World. It's so orchestral, that album, and it's just great.
Yeah, it's got a lot of depth, that's for sure. I actually found, I don't know if you guys have seen these, but I think I posted them somewhere on Instagram. But I found some sheet music, that handwritten charts for that album, just last year sometime. I dug them out of my cupboard. I'll put them up for you guys to see. But one of them is "Blow Me Down." You've got the title there, and it's just handwritten on, the A3 manuscript, and it's cool. Actually, I'm really glad I kept them, because there's a lot of history there now.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah.
Man, what question are we on?
Question.
It looks like the next question we were literally just about to start talking about. It's a Wiggly Wiggly World onwards. So what a perfect way to segue.
I was gonna say, it's funny that you mentioned Wiggly Wiggly World, because me, Sam, and Tyler believe that around that time, when you were recording Wiggly Wiggly World, was like the peak of the Wiggles sound. Like, the strings and the brass in those two albums are just amazing, especially on stuff like "Sing With Me," and on "You'll Be Wiggling."
That includes the "You'll Be Wiggling" album that followed that same year, with stuff like "Just Can't Wait for Christmas Day."
Yeah, "You'll Be Wiggling." That's great.
So, was anything done a little differently compared to other albums to achieve that sound? And do you have a favorite arrangement that you've done over the years?
Favorite arrangement? When I was listening to that the other day, I mean, there's so many on that album, like the Coyote song with Human Nature. It was with Human Nature, right?
Yeah.
To remember that, I think that's Wiggly Wiggly World. Yeah,
it is.
It's just really simple, the way it just kind of rolls along. 6 weeks in Leaky Boat, that was fun.
Oh yeah.
Piccolo, trumpet, and strings. I mean, I just remember that whole album was just, now it's all coming back to me, how much fun it was. Just, I think for some reason we had some more time to, write things out, and not much more time. It was always pretty, go. You could, there was so much to put down, guitars and guide vocals, and one from one thing to the other. It's can sometimes be pretty hectic. So, but that we always seem to get a great result. But I can't remember what it was, or what it was specifically about that. But it was just a great atmosphere. I remember the Wiggles, all of the guys were there. Just I think all of them were there just about every day. I just have a really great memory of Neutral Bay and the studio there at Tiger, and like Greg, Murray, Jeff, Anthony. They were all there. They seemed to be there every day, and we'd all go down to at lunchtime and have fish. That was kind of our thing. Every day we'd go for lunch together and come back, and it was just many days of great recording. So it was just a great camaraderie. I remember about that. Specific I mean, they're all great, I think. So yeah, I should have that song list in front of me. That might help. I'll just pull it up while we're chatting.
No worries. That year 2000 was It's a Wiggly Wiggly World and You'll Be Wiggling, and those are like the peak of the Wiggle sound to me. Just so orchestrally. You got Greg's beautiful voice with Mark Punch backing him up as well. You got you, of course, just killing it, and just, everybody was just on their A game at that time.
Yeah, Mark Punch was just phenomenal. Is Rick Price credited on that album? So one night we were recording. Is Rick Price on there? Sam was nodding. Said yeah. So, and Rick Price, he's he was big at that time, and he was just having lunch at a restaurant just down the road, and Mark Punch and Rick, they just happened to walk by. They literally come out of the restaurant, and then they were both in the recording studio, and Rick Price was singing, and they just on the spot. It was just heavenly. Yeah.
Wow.
Really well. I'm just putting it up now. Great times. Really, really great times. Yeah. I mean, they all are. It's just it's a long time ago now, so you have these great memories. I know I'm going to feel the same about the things we're doing at the moment. Yeah. Oh, here we go. Yeah, more song. It's the Wiggle. In the Wiggles world. Is this all? It's a Wiggly Wiggly World. Yeah. So in the Wiggles world, first song. Yeah. Here come the Wiggles.
Oh, that's a beautiful song. That is such a good song.
I think is that the one I wrote? Yeah. Okay. When I say I wrote, sometimes someone has.
You're all over that song. That's fair to say.
Oh yeah. Okay. I'm just pulling it up. How do I stop this? Come on. Yeah, so I wrote that one at home at the. Anthony said he wanted a song about, introducing the Wiggles on stage, and so, and that came a lot from. I drew on a lot of from what my dad trad style. That was fun putting that one together. Yeah. The octave jumps and horns.
Yeah, the instrumental.
That's one of my favorites of all time.
There's chromatic runs and things. I just knew that my sisters could do anything, because they're orchestral players. And Maria, the violinist, I mean, she's a virtuoso. And I don't mean, some people use that like in the realm of, he's a maestro or she's a virtuoso. Like, she actually is a virtuosic violinist. She studied at the Con in Sydney, and she lived in Austria, and she worked over there professionally, and she was performing in Sydney yesterday. And Maria can play anything in the violin repertoire in the world. She is literally A-list, so you could put anything on the page and they could play. I mean, all of them, Angela and Margaret as well, they can literally play anything on. So sometimes you hear those double octave string runs, violin, viola, cello together. They could just do it. Didn't matter how fast it was. It didn't matter if it was octuplets or chromatics or whatever. They're just floating over the top. They could do it. So big red car we like to ride. Yeah. Oh, Slim Dusty. Yeah, I'm just looking at the set list. Oh yeah, Kristen. I knew that was. So many great songs. Sing With Me. All those violin lines are all coming back.
Such a good album.
Yeah.
Such a good album.
One Little Coyote, yeah, that's great.
It seems like as of lately, Anthony's been kind of looking at those songs and bringing them back into the show a little bit as well.
Into the Wiggle shows?
Yeah,
the actual songs themselves.
Yeah.
Which anyone's in particular, Tyler? I'm just.
Uh, Taba
You mean the
Naba
sound or
pretty
the actual songs
recently.
themselves?
Like the actual songs
Oh yeah,
themselves.
yeah. Tabanaba. We did that with in the OG shows.
It was a great rendition.
Yeah.
It's funny. At one point in the middle of the tour, I had suggested to Anthony, why not add some songs from Wiggly World and Wiggly Safari, because there were none. And then I'm not gonna take credit for anything, but
No,
then we get Taba Naba and Crocodile Hunter in the Sydney show. I'm not saying I did it, but
well, you might have been the guy who put the idea in. He said because we had Robert Irwin on stage, so we did it. The plan was to do it in Brisbane, which we did. In Brisbane, the Brisbane show was after Sydney, so we not that Sydney was a rehearsal for Brisbane, but we had rather than doing it for the first time in Sydney, we did do Crocodile Hunter in Sydney, and to have him on stage, after what happened with his dad and their involvement with the Wiggles years ago. So that was fantastic. That was it. That was really emotional having him on stage. So yeah, that was pretty special. So yeah.
That whole OG tour was just awesome, and I actually, the three of us were responsible for putting some songs into Anthony's head for that tour. One of the more notable ones being "Dancing in the Sand," which I'm glad that went over well.
So good. I mean, I had to go and listen to it after we, when we were sitting around rehearsing the show in the TV studio at the Wiggles, and got the song list, and I got my singer with my trumpet, and Anthony's got his guitar, and Greg's there, and we're all there, and Murray, Jeff's sitting there with he's got this little keyboard plugged into an amp, and he's just playing like this. This is a rehearsal for this show, and there is some footage of it somewhere. I saw it the other day, and Jeff's playing on this tiny little keyboard, and we knew the songs and we know how it's going to sound, but it was so funny sitting there with this tiny little group, and there's Jeff, and doink 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 doink. whatever song it was, Hot Potato or something, I'm trying to play on this tiny keyboard, and I got my trumpet, and like, Anthony was playing acoustically. The trumpet was the loudest instrument in the room, so I'm trying to play really softly, and just trying to play really soft to blow anyone out. And then this was the beginning of this massive show that we're about to do. And why did I bring that up? What was the song we were talking about?
I think it was "Dancing in the Sand."
Oh yeah, "Dancing in the Sand." And we got to that, and there's no way. What key is that in? Dun, 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 C. Is it in C?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Let's turn this one down. And I'm just literally, I might not have even played the line. I knew the line, but I was just, playing really softly. And then on the night, what was our next rehearsal? It just kind of seemed to go from these little rehearsals just in the TV studio. Another time we were up in the kitchen, the dining area, and we had a rehearsal up there, and the dancers came in, and we were putting these. I mean, these guys, they all know what they're doing. It's just, we went from that small little space, acoustic playing, to this arena. I came off stage, "Dancing in the Sand" just went off completely. I just couldn't wait. Every night, I couldn't wait to do that song. Yeah.
That's such a good song. Love that song so much. So being part of the Wiggles recordings means you got to play alongside amazing musicians such as yourself. Some of note are Terry Murray, Steve Blau, like we talked about earlier, and the Wiggles themselves, and many, many more. What are some of your favorite memories working alongside some of these musicians that we've all grown to know and love on Wiggles recordings?
I mean, definitely, just Steve and Terry. They were just such beautiful musicians, just such craftsmen, you know. And you know, but the Wiggles themselves, their vibe is just so great. I mean, I've got great memories of, you know, the earlier things that we did. But it's such a great atmosphere with when you were talking about Wiggly World. One of the things, one of my greatest memories of Wiggly World was Greg. Greg was just so encouraging and so warm. I mean, I'd known him a number of years by then, but I just have this really wonderful memory of Greg around that time, and his contribution. So yeah, all these other musicians are fantastic. John Field, and just he breezes in and just lays down these amazing rhythm tracks and songs that he contributed. You know, John is just and such fun, so much spirit. But the Wiggles themselves, the OG Wiggles, and of course, not just the OG Wiggles, but I can talk about all the guys. But I'm sort of reminiscing here, but Murray's passion for his guitar, you know, his passion for getting it right, and he's has such a depth of knowledge of the instrument, and he's always wanting to be, you know, better and always trying to nail something and contributing in his way. He's just I love Murray's passion. He's got this really dry, there's sense of humor too. Jeff with his quirkiest lines. I've got this thing when Jeff comes into the studio, that if I'm sitting at the piano, I just get off it. If Jeff walks in, I just stand up and let's go, Jeff. There you go, it's yours. It's not just I mean, it is a respect thing, but because he's a Wiggle, original Wiggle, but you know, trumpet's mine. Anthony does play trumpet. Anthony does pick up a bugle, and sometimes we do these last post duets in the costume room where he keeps his bugle on the shelf. These are these instruments when you walk through the TV studio or the recording studio, and there's instruments everywhere, and he's always picking up something. And but the trumpet's mine. But when Jeff walks in, I just know I just cannot wait to see what he's going to pull out of the bag. You know, what sound he sits there and he's turning knobs and listening, and he goes, I like this one. And it was always a banger. There was always something that's just uniquely Jeff. And I talked about Greg Murray, and then of course Anthony. Like he just drives it. He just completely drives music in every way. I don't know anyone who knows children's repertoire like Anthony, and not just children's repertoire. But he'll say, "We're doing this song today, Dom. I want to do this song, and I want you to add horns, but I want you to listen to this song, and there might be Bert Camford or, you know, Herb Alpert. It'll be something that he wants to for it to sound like, or to be reminiscent of whatever." So yeah, it's the Wiggles themselves. I mean, all the other guys are just fantastic. Yeah, there's just, you know, many people that have just contributed, but yeah, the Wiggles are great. And Simon Lockie, Simon his beautiful voice and his ideas with story, and Simon's very thoughtful about story and lyric and so on, and how the song's going to be shaped by the lyric. Lockie is just an absolutely beautiful musician, and the way he approaches the piano and ideas for arrangements too. Yeah. So I mean, the new Wiggles, John and Sahai and so on. You know, so many great things I could talk about. But next question. or that we can talk more about that if you want.
We have a few questions about the new stuff a little bit later.
Yeah.
But
I thought you might. So
yeah. But now we'll just backtrack a little bit to this around 2002. The albums like Wiggle Bay and Lights Camera Action Wiggles. I don't know if you probably know this, but around that time you started to become like more of a frequent songwriter. I think every song, originally in the 90s, it was like every song was Cook, Field, Fat, Page. But then in around 2002, every song became Cook, Field, Page, Fat, John Field, and Dom Lindsay.
Yeah.
So what was that like? Were you like working out songs in the studio with them and writing on your own? And yeah, what was that change like?
Yeah, it was really exciting. So we were at Trafalgar Street, Electric Avenue, studios, where we recorded the Wiggles, the Spaghetti Western. What's that one called? What's that album called?
Hot Spaghetti Western.
Yeah. So that we had. I remember inside the studio there was a wall and it had butcher paper, big white butcher paper. And Anthony came in and he said, "We've got to work." He said, "We've got to deliver 6 album worth of songs in 2 weeks," and that was like I don't know if it was 6, but it was 60 songs. It was like 60 plus another. It was a lot of material, and there was at least 60 songs, and which had to fit into these albums. And there was the Western one, and it was Steve Irwin. There's just 2 that I can think of. Anyway, we had Anthony came and he looked at the songs and the ideas of the songs we had to come up with and what sort of format or the concept. And I think everyone was really overwhelmed, and he just said and at that point it was as you said, there was the Wiggles writing most of them, and there was John and myself there that day, and we just had to we started writing songs, and at that point people were contributing, like Greg would have one and John would have one, and Anthony would say, "What do you got, Dom?" And everyone was contributing individually. And then I think Anthony just sort of the light went on, and he just said, he kind of stopped everything, and he said, he called us all together and he said, "Guys, we've got a lot of work to do." He said, let's just work as a team, and basically we're all going to write together. And I said, "Great, that's fantastic." And it really took the pressure off, just because it meant that if you were struggling with an idea for a song and you're kind of halfway there, you didn't mind if someone just came in and sort of took the idea and worked it. So I remember one moment I was at the piano and I'm trying to work something out, and might have been Let Us Sing or something, and Greg came over and I was just trying to work out how to go from Let Us Sing was such a great little, it's like a pun, let us sing and let us sing. It was the fresh fruit and veggies. And I remember Greg coming over, and when you hear Greg just sing it, let us sing, fresh fruit, and you just hear him sing it, you go, yeah, that works, So there was things like that, and we really worked as a team. And then there was actually, he's buzzing here. There was actually a moment where Anthony said, "Right," he said, "now we're going to really step it up." He said, it kind of went like this, "John, you need to write a song about or whatever. Dom, you need to write a song about baking bread, making dough, cooking bread, making bread, whatever." And he gave everyone an assignment. "See you in 10 minutes." So everyone literally went to the corner of the studio and just sort of came up with an idea. Then we came back, and there was no because we were a team and we were doing it all together. There was no pressure, and it was so positive, because you'd say, "Well, here's my idea," and you didn't have to be apologetic about it being half-baked, because someone would just jump on and go, "Oh, yeah, well, John feels, yeah, we'll take it this way." Or Anthony would say, "This would make a great intro." And yeah, we just pieced everything together as a team. It was really cool. And then that's how that came about, that moment in the Wiggles songwriting. I remember it was pretty cool. Yeah.
Awesome.
That was an awesome story. That's like the type of stuff for us Wiggles fans that we just nerd out over, because that's just not really known information. I guess is like the actual recording studio process of things. That's just really fascinating to me.
Well, Anthony still does that today, like just recent projects, there's a team, and he just makes it really clear. He says, and I mean, you can see his names on those songs that are written, and he calls us together and he just makes everyone really, comfortable. This is, this is the team. We're writing the songs, and it's so much trust. It's just such a great environment because he just steers and navigates the whole thing, and I never have to worry about a thing like that. I you just turn up and sit at the piano and start to put songs together and record. It's so much fun. Yeah.
Definitely sounds like fun.
Yeah, that sounds great.
I guess following up in that same year, Taiwanese Wiggles, stuff like that, starts coming into production. And all of that music from, say, about 91 to 2001 got re-recorded.
Yeah.
And what was like the preparation like for that? And from memory, do you know how many of those songs would have ended up being recorded? And just what was that whole process like? Because like re-recording an entire discography just sounds like a chore.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. I remember being a bit daunted by that, because of deadlines too. There was Taiwanese Wiggles, there was Spanish Wiggles, Spanish-speaking Wiggles. Of course, you just had to record the song once, but I remember. So Rob Gist was sound engineer for that, and I remember doing it, and I just remember this long list, and but it was fun. It was actually like it didn't have to be exactly the same,
Yeah.
So, but that happens a lot. Like for instance, this weekend, just last night, the Wiggles were performing on stage with the Kid Leroy, who's big, he's huge. And so he wanted to perform with the Wiggles, and so the Wiggles went down to Melbourne. They start touring in Victoria this week anyway, but they went down to perform in his show to perform 3 songs: Hot Potato, Toot Toot, and Fruit Salad. And for some reason, so Anthony, this was last week or just a week and a half ago, Anthony comes into the room. He says, right, we were performing with the Kid Leroy, and we need to record Fruit Salad, Hot Potato, and Fruit Salad. And I said, oh, don't, but for that show. No explanation. That's fine. I don't need to know. But basically, they needed to re-record from scratch, and like we literally put down those 3 songs in like half an hour.
I was gonna ask about those because that was just the other day, but those tracks were new. I was like, what are those? What are those for? Yeah.
They're brand new. Yeah, we did it like it was less than half an hour. It was just crazy, but it was so much fun because I went like, we know these. I mean, I know it's not like recording a symphony, but they're classics, and you kind of get it right. And but because we've just done the OG show and we played all those songs, it was actually so much fun just going. It was almost like, how quickly can we record Toot Toot? With the original trumpet line. I'm thinking, to me, I'm a bit precious about that because it's a bit like in the show, they kind of make it. It's a bit of an iconic thing. That line in Toot Toot on a trumpet, it's just the melody, really. Like it's just a third above in some places, but you kind of want to. I was a bit like, oh man, I've got to nail this. But it happened so quickly, and it was so much, and because we just knew it was so much fun. So going back to what you're talking about with Taiwanese and Spanish-speaking Wiggles, I remember it being a bit daunting, but we just got it done. It wasn't too stressful. Just took a bit of time.
Yeah, those tracks are particularly cool to me because they were sort of reimaginings with like the modern Wiggles sound of songs we had only heard on Jeff's Korg M1 in 1992.
Yeah.
So it was just cool hearing those songs in like the new way at that time, I guess, with like Steve Blau particularly on those recordings was just fantastic. And I've always been really curious about those recordings because they only were used for those things, and the OG Wiggles used them in live shows here and there. But a lot of those recordings not all of them have even been heard yet. I don't think a lot of them ended up not even getting used. So
Yeah. Yeah.
always been curious about those.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm not the guy who has to keep track of it. That's Al Keller, sound engineer. But
Oh yeah, fair enough.
and he is just so chilled. He's just nothing can phase that guy. You know, when you talk about people that stand out, or you know, that have been great to work with, Al Keller. I mean, Anthony was the first one to say how wonderful he is. But Al is just the coolest guy. He's just nothing phases him. And there's times when it gets really hectic. You know, we've just got to like. So we have the recording studio here and the TV studio next door, and sometimes we're recording a song. The vocals we have to record enough of the music, the instrumental stuff, and have the vocals down so that they can just send it to the studio next door so they can start, you know, lip syncing because obviously not everything is sung live, as you know, for when they're making a music video. Yeah, so sometimes it's like literally the characters, the Wiggles or whoever it is that is singing or they're in costume and makeup, putting their line down in the recording studio and about to record it in the TV studio next door. So the turnover can be as quick as that. So Al sometimes has a really, he never seems stressed, but I'd be stressed. I mean, I can record, but that sort of pressure. Can't do the job that he can. Yeah.
Well, backtracking a little bit to December 2003, and probably most Wiggles fans would know you for this. You were the conductor and the musical director of the Lights, Camera, Action show, which had the live orchestra. So we're wondering, what was it like putting the music together for those shows and rehearsing and even the shows themselves?
Yeah, that was pretty epic. You know, after doing the OG show recently, and the OG show, because the Wiggles were playing, I mean, Anthony plays so much these days, Murray, and everyone. I mean, even Greg was playing, you know, some keys and whatever. So all the Wiggles were playing in the OG shows. But back in that show, they weren't as playing as much. So the instrumentation was kind of similar, but yeah, arranging the music, like having the charts for the musicians and having it to be, you know, exactly as it had to be, you know, according to the way that Anthony and the guys wanted it. And they were really specific. You know, I remember in those days, you know, Greg, after my shows, Greg would come and chat to me about, he'd give me notes on things and, you know, cues and countings and things, because it was a bit different to the OG show. I mean, because you got this, what was a 6-piece band, you know, had guitar, keys, drums. Then you had Sam and Craig, you know, playing horns as well. So there was a lot going on, and BVs. It was a lot of fun, but it was 3 shows a day. I just do not know how I got through that.
That sounds.
Firstly, we had. Yeah, it just. Who was it that suggested that we have the Wiggly Overture in the OG show? Because that person. Yeah, Tyler. No way. Please don't ever suggest. No, that's cool. That's really funny. At the end of that overture, I just didn't know how I was going to get through the rest of the show, because, you know, Anthony I didn't know. Anthony just said, we need an overture. Dom, can you arrange an overture? And I said, yeah, okay, well, this is the band. So who's going to play the melody? Well, you know, there's only so much. I mean, so many of the songs were trying to trumpet driven in the original recordings anyway. It's not like you just go all of a sudden, well, we're going to pull the trumpet out just to give me a break. But it was really hard doing that overture, playing that overture, and then doing the rest of the show. And that doing the OG show reminded me of that, because the OG show is like 90 minutes, and there's like 34 tracks or something, 32, 34 tracks in that songs in that show. And at the end of it, I'm really starting to feel it, my chops from playing. But add a medley, an overture on top of that, hard work.
Well, the overture is lovely for what it is. We may never hear it again, but that's such a good piece of music.
Yeah. The result was phenomenal.
Yeah.
So good.
So this is kind of a specific question. I'm not sure if you'll remember this, but
just us being nerds.
Yeah, that's cool. Go for it.
So in that tour, the Lights Camera Action tour in December 2003, the tour program has a set list in it, and it mentions the song "Christmas Picnic," which is a song that me, Tyler, and Sam we love that song. But in the video that they released of that show, it wasn't in the show. So we want to know if you remember ever performing or rehearsing Christmas Picnic in that show.
In Lights, Camera, Action, wasn't it Life Hot Potatoes, the name of the big show that we did? Or was it Lights, Camera, Action? The two that you're talking about, the 2003 show with the band?
Yep.
Yeah.
Isn't that called Life Hot Potatoes?
The DVD of it was called Live Hot Potatoes, but the show, when this show actually toured, it was called the Lights Camera Action Show.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you're right. I was confused about that recently. Some time ago, I was looking something up, and thanks for clarifying that. So the show was called Lights, Camera, Action.
Yeah.
But it was what they call the big show. They used to talk about the big show, the big tour that they did at the end of every year around Australia. It was called the big show, and it was Lights, Camera, Action. But they released as okay. So no, Christmas Picnic. I don't even remember the song. How does it go?
We're having a picnic on the beach.
Yeah. Great song. So what was the question? Sorry, Jake. Did we not perform it live?
Yeah, because it was mentioned in the set list in the program for the tour, but it wasn't in the video or anything. So we were just curious.
I don't remember. It's just like the OG show. There was right in the beginning. There was a couple of songs that were just, pulled that we did in the first couple of shows, and then we didn't do it for the rest. So I can't really.
Dorothy the Dinosaur broke my heart.
Yeah, that one.
It was so good though. That's Christmas Picnic. That would have been so good to hear live, but that's okay. The show was still great the way it was.
Yeah, it is a great song though. Yeah.
Yeah, you were talking about Jeff and how great of a keys player he is. I like the keys line in that song. I don't know how any human brain could come up with. That's just an incredible keys line.
Oh yeah, I mean, Jeff, there's no one like him.
It's very true.
I'm just looking it up.
It's such a good keys line. I don't know how any human brain could come up with it.
Oh, it's here. It is. So was it Yulden?
Yep.
Oh, the organ.
Yeah. So good.
It's to me it's so organic. Jeff does. It's so human like. It's like a human voice. The sounds that he gets and the way he gets a wow. It's almost like how you would play it if you were going to play that line, and it would suit the trumpet, but wow, the way he voices totally. It, and but he does it on a keyboard. Yeah, amazing.
It makes sense that Christmas Picnic wouldn't have been in the show because those tour programs for those tours they got printed months before the actual tours happened in a lot of cases. So that makes sense that it would have been left out of the show in hindsight. All right, so I guess similarly, you were also part of the live band with John Field and others that played the music for the Wiggle and Learn TV series with Greg just before he had to step away from his time with the Wiggles, which was unfortunately never released. And do you have any memories of working on that project?
Oh, yeah. I remember that specifically. So I think that's the only time that I ever remember in my time that we had the band in the TV studio recording the songs live. But you haven't seen. There's no footage of that. Is that right? Is it? It's never released.
They've released some bits and pieces, but the full project was never finished, actually.
Yeah, I got a very specific memory about that. So we had all the instruments, we carted them into the studio and sat in the corner, and we had a couple of keyboards and guitars and so on. And so the idea was to record those instruments and then overlay other things like trumpet later, I think. So get down as much as we can, like including drums, I think. And I just had an accident. So in my studio here, I was putting these plywood panels in the ceiling, and I had the circular saw down here. This is 2006. Would that be right? Wiggle and Learn? It would have been 2006. Yeah. Yep. That's when I had the accident. And I stuck this hand in a circular saw, and actually this finger was just the tip of my fingers hang off, and the saw went through these three fingers, on my left hand. Basically was rushed to the hospital. I stitched it all back on and everything. And within a couple of weeks, I had to be in the studio for Wiggle and Learn. And I remember sitting at the keyboard playing, and it was still weeping, and there was actually some blood on the keyboard. I remember Anthony saying, "What's that?" So that was my experience coming back after that really, really bad accident. It was pretty horrific. Being a musician. Not so bad with trumpet because it's my right hand. That's my memory, Wiggle and Learn. Trying to get through with a hand that was, and it was really painful too, and had a physio, so it was a bit tricky.
A gruesome memory, jeez.
Yeah. Also around that time, you would have been doing it, as we slightly mentioned before, the Dorothy TV show with the Rosie Orchestra. Do you have any memories of that project?
Oh yeah, I got great memories of that because it was really different. It was different to anything. I hadn't really been on. I'd been in some videos and things, bits and pieces, but that was there was a lot of episodes. It was so much. That was it was a bit stressful because we're arranging for strings. So the sound was, as you know, the Rosie Orchestra. The girls, 2 out of those 3 girls that appeared in the Rosie Orchestra, my daughters, and Kiara and Ashley. Sian, the youngest, was supposed to be, but she was quite young and might have been a bit of a stretch for her, but so I had to arrange the music for what you were going to see, and that was a Rosie Orchestra. So that was the violins and the string instruments, I should say, and George on bouzouki, and me playing the flugelhorn and piccolo trumpet, and the bass, which was recorded. You didn't see the bass player, but the bass player was Dave Stratton, who's an orchestral bass player, and he played double bass on that album. So where am I going with this? Yeah, so all music had to be arranged, like it was really heavily arranged, all those tunes. Every note was kind of written so the girls could come in, just record, and then put the bouzouki, and then have it ready enough so that we knew what we were going to be miming to when we were recording in costume. So, of course, we had our frills and our whatever we were wearing, the red velvet and gold and, frilly tops, and then we had to get about to filming it. So that was a pretty that was a big task, that one. Really enjoyable, but it was a lot of pressure to get everything done so that I could be ready for filming. Which was not, that wasn't what I did. I was mostly in the studio. You weren't really singing, you just sort of worked behind the scenes, but getting in time in place, ready to film was tricky, but good. Yeah.
Around that time, you also started working on getting the albums "Getting Strong," "Pop Go the Wiggles," "You Make Me Feel Like Dancing," and those albums had some very unique arrangements. Had lots of trumpet, accordion, bouzouki, even some musical saw. So, what was it like writing and recording those albums with the kind of expanded palette of instruments?
So Getting Strong.
Yeah.
Oh, gee. And You Make Me Feel Like Dancing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just remember there was a lot going down. You know what? I'd have to. I should have the song list in front of me, Jake. I remember Leo Sayer being in the studio, and that was great. That was really, really great fun. But yeah, so there was more accordion going down. Is that what you're saying? Yeah, I'm sorry, Jake. I don't really. It's a bit of a blur.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some things I can remember more specifics about, but yeah. What year was that? Let me feel like I answered.
Around 2007,
Okay.
2008.
Yeah. Yeah. I do remember Leo Sayer coming in and being really happy with that song. His song, you know.
Yeah.
He lives down here in the Southern Highlands. Yeah. Where I live. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, you've been back a few times for Wiggles recordings, such as Waltzing Matilda in 2012, Surfer Jeff, stuff like that. But recently you've come back in a really, really big way, and everyone in the Wiggly community is very happy about that. What led you back to the Wiggles?
Anthony just called me up.
Fair enough.
Well, you know, things when Greg had to well, retire. I don't know if there's a better word for that, but you know, things changed a bit around about that time, and it was funny. I just had to make a decision with some other work I was doing, and I this had nothing to do with the Wiggles, but I was just had made a decision to do less work in, not so much about not going to Sydney, but because I live in Southern Highlands, which is just, you know, 90 minutes from Sydney. But there was something in Sydney that I was doing, and I just, you know, I was just getting a bit just sort of pulled between two places, and it was a bit of a hard decision, but I decided to let that go. It was involved with schools and teaching at a school in Sydney, and I just thought, literally the day I made that decision, Anthony called, and that was the beginning of this big run that we've had since the beginning of 2021. So yeah, I've just made myself free as much whenever they need me to go in, and it's been great. So yeah, it was more about Anthony's talked about having a certain sound that we had once. Not everything's the same, but there's been some projects that we've been doing where he's drawing on that, like for instance the Wiggly World sound. He's been talking about that, thinking about that. So yeah, so it's not like we're going to recreating that necessarily, but I think he's just really enjoying the team the way it is, and it's really great. It's fantastic being back. Just love it.
Well, everyone's very happy to see you back.
Thanks,
And
Tyler.
more importantly, hear you back.
Thanks. Yeah. So yeah, it's really good fun too. Yeah.
Cool. So I guess, yeah, what's it been like being back recording with the new lineup, the new Fruit Salad TV Wiggles? How has that been for you?
You know, the memories I have are just so great, and I think the memories I'm going to have of this time is going to be just as strong. It's wonderful, and it's all intertwined now because the OGs, it's all happened together. You know, it's not like we've got the Fruit Salad Wiggles now and the OGs are around. You know, they haven't been around, and they're around. You know, Murray drops into the studio, Jeff pops in and jumps on the keys and records, yeah, all of them. So it's obviously at the moment they're doing a lot of work with the Fruit Salad Wiggles and recording a whole lot of content, a lot of new songs. But yeah, it's just the most wonderful group of when I say young people, you know, like you got Sahai and John and Katerina, Edie. So you've got a young crew, and then you've got the slightly older, more experienced crew. But it's just such a great combination of, it's just such a fantastic atmosphere. I love it. I absolutely love it. Sahai's just an absolute scream. She's just, Sahai and John together, just love hanging out with those two. They're Anthony's putting a banjo line down or a mandolin line, and then behind in the control room there's John and Sahai making up the most outrageous dance moves just because, you know, just because they're fun. Yeah, it's a really great time. I'm happy to have been. Yeah, really cool.
The Fruit Salad TV Christmas album, it was great. It had a lot of
So
faithful
good.
versions. Yeah, I've had a lot of faithful versions of songs from like Santa's Rockin' that sounded very like what we like to call wiggly. So like, what do you think that wiggly sound is, or like the sound of the Wiggles in general, and how have you approached it in terms of your songwriting and arrangements for them?
Oh, well, for me, if I'm approaching something, for me specifically, if I'm starting a song, or for me, it'd be the piano. For Anthony, it's always the mandolin or the banjo. It's like I don't think anyone records like the Wiggles do, and it's changed. It's not always the same. It's not always the same way. But I don't know if you know this, but often, because Anthony is just loving playing, he's just back playing. He's got the pipes, bagpipes, which you see from time to time. But for him, that's such a strong tradition, and all the music that goes with that, Scottish and traditional music, and he knows such a vast repertoire of that traditional music that sneaks in, and doesn't just sneak in; it's very present. Sometimes we just do a traditional song, and then we arrange around that. But often, and when I said, I don't know if you guys know this, but when we record, often it's just Anthony starts it. So he goes in and tunes up the mandolin or the banjo, and then puts down the melody line or a line that he's got in his mind. And that's how we start the song, which is really unusual, because normally you would start with, you might have a drums, bass, and keyboard and rhythm guitar, or just put on the bed of the song. Or you might just put the piano down. So you've got the pitch and you've got the rhythm, and that all goes with a click track. But so often we just, it's a secret, so it's okay to say. But yeah, Anthony will go in and literally just put the melody down. So it's leading with him playing, and then the song evolves and is formed around that. So I think it's quite unique. Yeah.
I was going to say, I think with that description, the best way to maybe describe the wiggly sound is just a bunch of people having fun. That might be the best way to describe it.
Yeah. That's definitely the case. Yeah, it's definitely the case. It's very, it's very much a lot of, it's a lot of fun, that's for sure. Yeah. And it's very organic sometimes, and sometimes Anthony's very specific about. He's always specific about, like, things don't just happen. He's got very much in mind exactly how he wants a song to go, and just when sometimes you think you've nailed it, and just say, no, we need to tweak, change, or whatever. And it's all, everything is because I'm not early childhood trained, although I do teach music in a primary school, kinder to year 6 school, but I'm not early childhood trained. Anthony is, and often, he'll just be listening to something we've recorded or about to record, he's pitching it, and everything is always through the eyes of the children, how he thinks they will perceive it. Not how he thinks, how he knows they will perceive it, because he's educated in that realm. And you just trust that. Sometimes you've got an idea and you think it's a really great idea, and you really want that idea to happen just because musically it sounds good to you, and you think it's going to work in an arrangement. And then and sometimes you just got to let that go, because and Anthony will say, we need to do this, because he doesn't even have to say why, but from the perspective of the child, he knows. So you just give it up, just go. It's one of the greatest things I've learned about recording with the Wiggles is you just don't have an ego about it, because someone knows better, and he knows the overall picture. He might have a picture in his mind as to how it's going to look visually with the video and the dances and so on. So you just go, yep, whatever you need. Takes the pressure off.
Well,
That's great.
The return of the Wiggly sound has continued on the new Super Wiggles album, which I loved. It's such a good album. And there's also a lot of sort of fresh influence, like there's like funk and hip hop elements, and to complement the traditional Wiggles sound. And what was it like working on this album? Because this was a real return to form for the Wiggles, it feels like, well, also very fresh. And do you have any favorite songs from it? Because a bunch of great songs on this album.
Yeah. Well, John Pierce, and what he brings with his contemporary sound of beat, rhythm, and his beats, as they would call it. A lot of the although there's a lot of drums, like live drums, on that album with Loz Benson, and she's an amazing drummer. But that and other things, material that's about to come out, you're going to hear a lot more of John and what he produces, and that's really exciting. Yeah, but that album, yeah, I love it. It's got a big sound. It's got that super, like, I think everyone, once we knew we had a superhero theme, everyone was thinking along the lines of Superman and dun dun, that big fifth sound, and there's the sound of the open fifth, the perfect fifth, and big chords and sort of kind of orchestral. Yeah, that was fun. That was really fun. Everyone having a go at some sort of a superhero song. With what John's coming, like some of the latest things we've been recording, we'll start with, as I said, mandolin, and we'll put down some piano or rhythm guitar, and maybe some bass. Meanwhile, John Pierce is recording on his computer the rhythm tracks, and so it's really interesting to have that just drop into the session tracks to see what that's going to sound like. It's a bit of a different way of doing it, but yeah, it's great. Yeah, really good.
Also, of course, we've touched on it a little bit, but also the OG Wiggles reunion tour that was touring around until last month.
Yeah, gobsmacking fun. I didn't ever get used to that feeling. Just remember, I haven't done a live Wiggles tour show since 2000, since Lights, Camera, Action.
Yeah.
But I've done a lot of gigs since then, lots, and I know what it's like to be on stage, and not like a Wiggles show, of course, thousands of people, but adults, an adult audience. That's new, completely new for them too. But nothing ever prepared me for that moment when Anthony walked out at the beginning of every show. And I mean, I knew he was about to come. The first night I always have this memory. So the very first OG show, it's not like we rehearsed every part of it. He had to come on stage somehow, but I just didn't even think about that because we hadn't really rehearsed that. You don't really rehearse someone walking on, but for me it was such a big deal. So where the band's all there, we're jamming on Fruit Salad, the audience are getting excited, and then Anthony all of a sudden walks through the green door, and the audience just erupt. And I remember my reaction. I literally went like, "Here he is," and then I made that kind of a thing. For me, it wasn't for the audience. Just sort of the second show, I knew he was going to come, and then he'd walk out on stage, and I kind of go like presenting, But it was a genuine feeling, like it, and the audience reaction to him, and then each subsequent Wiggle that came on, it was Anthony, and then Murray came on second, and then Jeff. I'm starting to sound like a nerd myself. And then Greg was the last one that came on, and as each OG Wiggle came on, the audience, it just got louder and louder and louder, because I think they were just overwhelmed. They were like, "Is this really them?" And then Greg finally came on. So yeah, just that very opening moment, I didn't ever get used to it. I literally, my breath was taken away. Also, from the audience cheering, the band playing, it was really awesome. I just didn't ever get used to that. It was just sheer energy and excitement. That's what I was saying. Yeah, you could really feel that the audience were reliving something. Yeah, it wasn't just because it was loud and exciting. It was like you could see the people in the front, in the front few rows, just literally like, "Oh my God," just pointing like this, and they're going, "It's really them," There was people in tears. There was people sobbing with joy. Yeah.
No, and I get it, because like it's such a big part of our lives. And these days, I mean, it's not so rare this year, but it's not super often since they retired that you get to see those four guys in their skivvies doing their thing. It's a pretty big event when that happens, and this just so happens it's kind of happens to be the main event of this year, and it's so good to see them back in action. I'm fingers crossed for a tour of the States. I'm not sure what's happening yet, but fingers crossed for a tour of the States.
Yeah, me too. I hope so. Well, I hope I go if they're going. Yeah,
I'm sure they would bring they need you. They'll bring you.
I'd love it. It was just I've never had so much fun in my life. It's just so good. Yeah, the audience made it.
Yeah, and the OG tour brought back a lot of some of your classic trumpet parts, but you're also playing some songs on some songs for the first time, like Dancing in the Sand. And so what was it like revisiting some of those songs that you played on? And do you have a favorite that you were performing?
Yeah, with Dancing in the Sand. Is that a trumpet line originally in Dancing in the Sand or not?
No, there's not.
Yeah, no, it's not.
No.
I didn't think so. Was it strings? It's strings, I think. I might be wrong, but I thought it was strings. But it just suited the trumpet really well, and I remembered the line because I think I arranged that for the strings. Like, dun, 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 dun. Yeah, but obviously we didn't have the string section, so I thought I'll just play it on the trumpet, and I couldn't wait. I couldn't wait to play that. Yeah, playing all those, and there's a lot of things that I'd never played live, on trumpet, and that was the thing. It was actually a big deal. Like no kidding. It wasn't just like, oh yeah, I'm gonna play these tunes that we've recorded a long time ago. It was every time I was playing in the show, I was thinking, I can't believe we're playing this live. It was maybe a bigger deal to me than some of the other guys because they've done so many shows. They've done, I only ever did the Lights, Camera, Action show in 2003, and we didn't do all of these songs that the OGs did. So particularly Toot Toot, just because it's a bit iconic. There's that moment in the OG show where Anthony introduces the band and gets us to play something, and so I'd play just the beginning, the intro to Toot Toot, and the audiences loved. They straight away they got it straight away. So it was just a real buzz.
One of the songs that caught us all really off guard for the OG tour was "Everybody Is Clever."
Oh yeah.
That was an incredible addition to the set list.
Yeah, I think it was really cool that was included, just because. I never questioned. Okay, what's the set list? We're playing that. Great. Got to know what I'm playing. Got to learn what I'm playing. Got to listen to those songs. But I think it was just a reminder. Like in that moment when we did that song, to me it was so cool that the Wiggles were back doing their thing. But even though it was an adults audience, it was just kind of like it was a reminder to me that we were performing, put your hands in the air, whatever the lyrics are. I'm not a singer, but it was just a reminder that, this is a band for kids, and the audience were adults, and they just still loved it. They didn't mind. They weren't being treated like children. There's nothing condescending about it. It was like they came to hear the Wiggles. I don't think they really, a lot of people, I don't think they knew what to expect. Like a lot of my friends said, "You're doing what? You're playing with the Wiggles. So what do you do? What do you do in the show? Like, is it like the stuff they've been doing, like Elephant for, re-wiggled? Is it not that they even knew that? Not everyone knew that repertoire or what they had done. Oh, is it something to like people would say, friends would say, has it got something to do with the Triple J, like the Hot 100? Are they doing like set covers or something? Is it? No, it's the Wiggles doing Wiggle songs, and people would go, oh, I don't know if I get that. I said, no, you don't know if you unless you're there, you don't know what it's like. I mean, Tyler, I know you can imagine what it's like to be there. And Samuel's Melbourne, yeah. Samuel went to the OG show, yeah. You guys would know what it's like to be there, but people who are not really switched on to the Wiggles, oh, why would you do that? Yeah, but that song was just a reminder that it is a kids band, but I think it was a nice reminder to the audience that was probably a real hit for them, because it was very, involved the audience, like a lot of the Wiggles songs do, but that one in particular, just a simple action song and a call and response kind of thing.
I think the OG show was a real testament to just like good music is good music. You know what I mean? It's like I think it's music is a universal thing, and doesn't matter if what the lyrics may be. Obviously, Wiggles songs are meant for kids, but the music is just so good that it really doesn't leave some people, and I think the OG show is a real testament to that.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, here's kind of a fun question. So let's say that it's kind of a hypothetical, but is there a song that wasn't in the OG shows that you would have liked to play, that wasn't included in the set list, but is a song that you would have liked to have been included?
Oh, well, Go Santa Go. I know we did it. We did it in the first couple of shows, but that was pulled. It's a bit of a big blow on the trumpet, but we lost that one after about the second show, I think. So I did miss that, but it's okay. There's plenty of other great songs. No, nothing really. I mean, I'll leave that to the experts, you guys, and your suggestions, Tyler, and the Wiggles.
There were some songs I would have loved to hear, but there's no such thing as the perfect set list. You know
like
what I mean?
What else would you have liked to have heard?
Ooh, maybe something like Move Like an Emu or Do the Owl. Something like that would have been fun. It's unrealistic, but like, because Go Santa Go was pulled, but some of the Christmas deep cuts, like Just Can't Wait for Christmas Day, would have been awesome, and stuff like that.
I would have liked probably 6 months in a leaky boat.
Yeah,
well, that would have been cool. Christmas Picnic is that's a favorite of mine. Yeah, could name 20. So
yeah. I mean, there's so many great tunes.
There's so many options. The one that comes to mind, at least right now, is Here Come the Wiggles. But at the time that it was touring, I had so many songs. I was like, I hope they do this or that. So yeah.
And the set list we got was just remarkable. At the end of the day, it was so good. You almost wouldn't change it. But it's like when it comes to Wiggles songs, you could do a second show with an entirely different set list. You know what I mean? There's just so many good songs.
Well, I suppose they've also got to think about visuals and the dances and including an Irish dance number and they had all that going on and involving Wags and Henry and Dorothy and all the characters and Paddy, so Captain Feathersword. So yeah, they had to sort of include and work around all those ideas as well. But, and the set list didn't always run exactly the same. That sometimes.
I saw specifically. I think it was the show in Tasmania. It just seemed like Anthony was just kind of choosing songs to play rather than running the list, and I could see some facial expressions on stage like, "What? We're doing this?" It was like,
well, the band. It's okay for us. I think if you had a close up of the band, I think we were looking at each other. I think we were more concerned about. It would have been fun having a camera backstage, seeing Katerina, the choreographer, and all the dance going. Oh, hang on, I've got one foot in a Irish dancing costume, but Anthony's just called what?
Yeah, I think
they would have been sort of jumping in and out of costumes because of a change in song, but that's part of the fun. That's part of the fun.
Yeah, I think the second show, if my memory is serving me right, after fruit salad, Anthony called "Quack Quack," which was
Yeah.
not the traditional second song. I can
I
only
think
imagine the. What's
yeah,
that?
I think it's because he called. For some reason, he brought Paddy out. He brought Captain
Yeah,
Feathersword out. He introduced
right.
him early because he was just freewheeling, and he was just had a moment, and he just maybe Paul was already on stage. No, I'm not. Something reminded him. I don't know what it was. And next thing, Captain Feathersword was on stage, and then Anthony said, "Oh, we might as well do Quack Quack while he's here," which sent. It just mixed things up. It was cool. It's great.
Keeps things fresh. Wiggle shows have always been like that. It's just stir
Yeah.
the moment stuff like that. No show is the same. There have not been two Wiggle shows the same, and I think that's why people keep coming back, is because stuff like that.
So recently you were very rightly recognised by APRA for the Ted Albert Award. And what was it like receiving that?
Oh man, it was one of the best things ever. It's one thing to get that award. I've been going to the APRA Awards for years, just to be in the room, in the vibe, and just sort of seeing so many other riders. And I've gone to the APRA Awards almost every year, whenever it's in Sydney, and the APRA Screen Awards as well. I've only been involved in the past for things where nominated, like an album might have been involved in, or was involved in, or it's been a while, but I just love going and just being there. And I remember, over the years, seeing people getting these awards. I've got one friend who wins one every year because he writes for documentaries, and he's pretty nonchalant about it. But I've always thought this looks like a really cool award. It's not something I ever I don't think you can really set out to get one. How do you do that? Oh, I'm going to be the #1 songwriter in Australia. How do you do that? Like, who sets? You don't set out to do that. So it was a real surprise, but it meant a huge amount to me when Anthony took me into the boardroom at the Wiggles and he said, "I've got a couple of things I want to tell you." And then he told me, he said the Wiggles are getting recognised for contribution to music in Australia with this Ted Albert Award, and then we're including you as one of those people recipients, including Simon, Lockie, Paul Field, and John Field, and the OGs. I went, wow, it was huge. But it was one thing to be recognised by APRA, but even bigger was being included by Anthony and the Wiggles as part of that team. So they didn't have to do that. They could have just said, well, it was the original Wiggles and left it at that. But he included the OGs and the other 5 of us. So that meant just as much, if not more, because the recognition was from the Wiggles, not just APRA. They were recognising us. So that was awesome. Huge.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
I'm so proud. Just so proud of that. Yeah.
Very well deserved for all of you.
Yeah, it's been a lot of years, a lot of music, a lot of big catalogue.
Oh yeah, we got so many good songs, so much great music. Well, we've got one last question for you, and that is, Dom, what's next for you? Creative projects on the horizon? Anything like that? What's next for you?
At the moment, I know we've just got so many. It seems like we've got a lot coming up with the Wiggles, but at the moment, I'm just loving this this accordion that I bought. I'm just putting so much time into playing it, and I just feel that I need to, and I'm practicing the trumpet more than I ever have before. And that all has come about because of, I do a fair amount of gigs. I'm not talking about the Wiggles, other things, and you've got to be in shape for. But I just really enjoyed having to be in really good shape for the Wiggles show. I just wanted to be. It was so special for me to do it that I just did my routine and my daily drills and warm up and practice, and I just wanted to be in the best shape ever to do that because it's been a big chunk of my life. And so I've just enjoyed playing and practicing the right way and playing the way I was taught, when I first learned the trumpet and taught to taught to do the things the right way. So getting back into the trumpet and just playing a lot and learning, revising old repertoire and learning some new things, and my Irish button accordion, for me, they're the projects. They're just learning lots of tunes, because I just think, you know, over the years I've not so much neglected. It's just that having kids and having family, and now that my kids are growing up, I just want to get back to being a better musician. So I just think if I become a better musician and achieve these things I want to achieve, not just the trumpet, but on this accordion, I've got some plans for that. I've got some people that I've reconnected with, Anthony and a couple of other people that we're all going to get together and have some sessions, and I think some good things are going to come out of that. But I just think if you're a musician and you're not improving and you're not working at your skill of being a musician, learning new material and getting better on your instrument, then you're just going to kind of, what are you going to do? I feel really good when I play. I feel really good when I practice. It's just so good for my brain, our brains, and you guys too, play too. So you know what that feeling's like. So for me, I'm just really enjoying practicing and playing, and then from there, good things will come. I know there's things on the horizon, like just around the corner. So yeah, at the moment, for me, it's playing and practicing and learning new stuff.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, Dom, I got one request before we close this out. I hope it's not too much to ask, but you think you could give us like a quick riff on the trumpet, maybe Get Ready to Wiggle or something like that?
Wow.
That was great.
Top 10 coolest moments of my life, just right there. Dom Lindsay just played Get Ready to Wiggle for me. Oh, this is this is just the coolest thing ever. I don't even know what to say. This is so cool.
Yeah, fire away. I mean, this is I'm better at playing than talking.
Same, frankly.
What key's quack in?
Woo!
Amazing.
Yes.
When you're asking about, projects and so on, this is the accordion. I'm a bit of a novice at this, but absolutely love it. Use a similar one in the Dorothy the Dinosaur. You hear that okay?
Yep. It's got a beautiful sound to it.
Yeah, it's a really, really nice sound. Yeah. Anyway.
A genius at work, ladies and gentlemen.
It takes me 30 minutes just to get my head into this one. It's not that intuitive when you're been playing keys and piano accordions, but
I'm sure
I'm getting there.
Well, yeah, I guess maybe for one more request before we sign off here,
Sure.
maybe on trumpet, I think this would be a good one to close out with. Do you think you could give us the hook to Rockabye Your Bear?
Oh yeah, on trumpet, yeah.
Yeah, just like the original.
Well, the original was accordion, wasn't it, with Jeff? The original would have been Jeff.
The very, very, very first version would have been like a fake trumpet on Jeff's keyboard, but they later change it to accordion.
Yeah, because Jeff, as you know, he calls out doesn't he call out, "Someone turn that trumpet down"?
Yeah.
Yeah, on the very
On the
first
original.
recording. Yeah.
Yeah,
On the
in
very
original.
first album.
Yeah.
So
but
good.
But it's not actually a trumpet. Yeah, it's a yeah, second trumpet. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. In A, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Now these keys often record in E and A. They're not the best keys for trumpets.
Yeah.
Oh,
Ladies and
well,
yeah.
yeah.
The
Oh,
funk
man.
keys.
Well,
Great.
Dom, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much for putting away the time to talk to us. We've been trying to do this for a while. So happy we could finally do it. It's an absolute pleasure to talk to you. Everybody go follow Dom on Instagram at Dom Lindsay, I believe. And yeah, thank you so much. We can't thank you enough for this.
No worries, guys. Thanks, Tyler. Thanks, Sam. Thanks, Jake. No, it's really nice talking to you. Thanks for having me, guys.
Testing. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.